All right, V, we're switching things up today. Instead of breaking down studies or exercises, we're doing something a little more personal. 20 questions, swimmer edition.
Yep, we're talking all about how swimming has shaped us, the injuries we've had, the weird pains that never quite went away, and how we deal with it now. No filters, just real swimmer talk.
Let's see how many of these questions we actually agree on and how many are just part of that swimmer struggle life. So, I'll start off and then we'll take turns going back and forth. Do you remember the first time you ever got a shoulder or back injury from swimming?
I just remember how much my shoulder burned and it kind of gave me that sharp pain during swimming. And my back definitely hurt always something was wrong, so I don't think it's, if I remember, I just remember it hurting.
So, just too much yardage.
Yeah, it was way too much for my body. um, all right, number two. Was there a point where you realized your body wasn't recovering the same way it used to?
Yes, I was 15 years old. I was swimming very, very high level, but I was having so much pain in my knees, in my hips, every practice, like every kick hurt, every breaststroke kick hurt. And so it was like I had to manage, how much pain I could really deal with. So my 2 hour practices became an hour 45, became an hour 30, became I got out at an hour. And um essentially I was icing every practice I got out. And I was just taking rests before we did dry land. Like I still wasn't done, but I had to leave early in terms of the practices. I felt like I wasn't doing enough, but I did taper for a while, so my times didn't get affected for a period of time, which shows that rest is important because I didn't see a time decline until, I personally just started, working less hard because I felt like there was no really way of improvement, more so stagnation. What's the most random or unexpected swim related injury you've had?
That kind of spiked up my memory a little bit. I remember when when we swim, we have to go full force onto the wall, to
Hmm.
finish if we're in a race or something like that, right? We go up in there, we gotta do it. You've always heard a coach say, finish to the wall. You need to finish with really strong power and energy. And I remember I definitely have jammed my fingers a couple of times slamming into that wall. And there was also one time where this was still back when I was indoors and I was doing backstroke and I hit my head so hard on the wall that everyone heard inside. So that did traumatize me for backstroke for a little bit, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I remember as a kid learning backstroke, you just kind of hit your head enough times till you just
Yeah,
learn to fucking do it right.
I know.
Because
And
you're like,
now,
you're just so scared. So you just really stick to the count.
yeah,
Because when we count, it just helps, us not knock
to
ourselves
do
out.
that.
Also,
I
your
know.
story made me think of a swimmer I swam with. I was probably 12 years old at the time, but she was doing a
Yeah.
100-meter freestyle sprint and she
Mhm.
had really, really fast flip turns. And
Yeah.
she flipped and her heel hit the edge
Yep, have
and
done that.
she had a
Mhm.
really big gash, like blood coming
Yep.
out. She had to literally leave and get stitches and shit. It was not it was not a pretty
Tough.
sight. And this is also why I don't get acrylic nails because I've already broken a nail and they were short. Like, I tried to keep them reasonable, but this is why you kind of just don't do that stuff unless it's like an off season. But then again, when do you get an off season? You don't. So just don't get the acrylic nails.
I definitely have a couple scars from hitting my heel on the wall. I still have one on my heel. And
Yeah.
on my arm, you can still see a scar all the way back when I first started swimming and when I hit my arm on the block because we had some weird sandpaper blocks and they were sharp on the edges. I don't really know what kind of blocks
Safety
they
hazard
were.
everywhere.
Literally. So yeah, that brings back memories. Did you ever hide injuries from your coach just to keep training?
No, I was really honest. That's why he was okay with me hopping out early. He knew I was going to go ice. I was taught to be very transparent with my coach, but also like my dad was my main coach my whole life. So you just have to be transparent. It's your parent. Put the parent in transparent, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But so I had to, be honest, but I felt like that's what delivered the best coaching, even in terms of how I act as a coach. We're going to be very transparent and, not avoid problems. We got to talk about them. So,
On the other hand, though, I feel like if I did say I had an injury, people would think that you're faking it
gotcha.
sometimes.
I've
Just to
heard that
get,
from some people, but they tended to often be complainers. If they were already the precedent complainer,
yes, yeah,
then sure, everyone's going to look at them sideways, but I did have
yeah.
a pretty good track record of working hard, getting good times, being pretty up there on my team. What I will say is that it is frustrating that being transparent about my injuries, there was really no like, hey, you should do this, or hey, you know, this is what's probably causing it, because there was no, you know, information, I guess,
Yeah,
for them to really use to help us.
coaches are not trained to fix our injuries, so they don't, they can't
They don't know
really.
what to do. They're like, I don't know, man. Take a break, get out early, go ice, go, you know, do
Yeah,
just do less, sit out. Like, if they're going another 100, I'm like, I gotta sit out this 100, this last one. So it's like,
I know. If only growing up I had someone that was like for the team, that was like a personal trainer or a strength coach or something that, or a PT that was able to sit there, or even athletic trainer to sit there and help us and work through these injuries. Just at least someone, but there
exactly. That's why,
wasn't.
like, I tried so hard also just becoming that person because I felt like I didn't have that person. So even when I work with teaching kids how to swim, because PSA, me and V both teach people how to swim. I can at least safeguard them from injuries. So I have some swimmers that are learning all four strokes and recording underwater to see their progression and whatnot. And if they keep getting at a higher level, then, those precautions are going to be taken into place because I don't want them to go through what I had to go through. And then also when I was younger, in the early 2000s, right? We didn't have underwater cameras like accessible, so I couldn't even see what my form looked like underwater. So they have so much more than even I did in terms of tools to succeed, for sure.
There's definitely some positives of all of the recordings. I think you can learn a lot from watching yourself being recorded.
Yeah,
So
that's what
that
I love about doing it is because not only are we able to teach other people through showing our swimming, but like I'm able to see little imperfections that I can improve. And even the greatest Olympians will tell you they're still trying to improve their technique. Like no one is flawlessly perfect. It's just parameters that we try to follow to have the best and fastest strokes. When did you first notice scapular winging or shoulder pain, and how bad did it get?
I feel like scapular winging doesn't necessarily hurt itself. It just comes with pain in different areas that are from the scapular winging. And I still have scapular winging, so it never truly went away, and I still have that shoulder pain, and it got so bad that, I was told to stop swimming, but I don't think it was necessarily the scapular winging that I was being told to not swim. It was just part of the shoulder injury also itself.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I definitely don't find scapular winging in itself to be like, oh, this hurts, but it is a red flag for other areas of pain. Like even today when I was working out, my serratus anterior and lat just felt super bothered, and all around my scap, like just nerve pain from the winging. So it was in other areas of my body that pain was presenting because of the lack of control there.
It is crazy how the body can adapt and change just to move around some pain.
Yeah, that compensation is literally what most people need to fix in
Yeah.
order to heal their
And
chronic pain.
yeah, and
Because
that's
their
just in
body is doing
general.
something to prevent using a specific area of their body that is loading the incorrect muscle that is then causing pain.
Do you think certain strokes mess up your body more than others?
Yes. I mean, I think in terms of even scapular winging, breaststroke is going to be the worst contender because as a breaststroker, like you want to be propelling yourself forward, like you kind of pull back and then you throw yourself forward into an arch. So there's a peak strength moment tied with that arch in the body, where that's where you kind of are generating the most power before you throw yourself forward. And when you're training for that type of strength in that position, that's what's going to cause that overbuilt anterior side of the body and underdeveloped posterior side of the body, which creates that slumped forward posture and then encourages scapular winging the most. Because it's not to say that freestyle and butterfly we don't round, but definitely not as much as breaststroke. And so those wings are coming out, you know, to the side of your body as you're arching before you throw yourself forward. Do you ever feel like your technique changed because of an injury?
Yeah, it's just what your body does. It tries to move around it so it doesn't feel pain, but I also feel like with swimming, it's very hard to completely change your stroke to get rid of pain, so it's always gonna be there. But when I would be swimming, I would use probably more strength in my left arm instead of my right because I didn't want to put a lot of pressure when I was pushing my hand through the water. So maybe opening my fingers so the water's just kind of going through and I'm not really using any force. So I definitely think that the body changes just because of an injury. What's a training drill that used to destroy your shoulders and you didn't realize it at the time?
This one's going to be more specific for backstroke. So, as a learning young kid, no one taught me the power of internal rotation. So I literally was overextending my shoulder so far back with my hand, like just making complete 360 circles and pushing the water back with my hands. So it put my shoulders in a really uncomfortable position. And as a kid, like you only know what you're being told. And I started swimming at 3. So I was swimming very young, like learning backstroke at 4 and 5. And I'm just like doing these windmill arms because I don't know how to bring my arm back to my body and then pull the elbow close to my body and then bring the hand forward. So even when I work on that perfect form really slow now, it just feels weird. Like sometimes I still kind of go back to that bad backstroke form because it's what I'm used to. And I still was really fast. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I have I still have an 8 and under record to this day for the 25 backstroke that has not been taken, okay? I have placed pretty well in some backstroke events because as I steered away from IM or freestyle, I tended to do breaststroke and backstroke the most. And like my 50 backstroke time was probably like a 32, 33, like under 12, 13. So I was, or even borderline 29. I'd have to double check, but it was in the low 30s, more like 28, 29 actually. And I had a pretty fast backstroke, but my internal rotation was not there. I was just throwing my arms. Like I had speed and I had grip in my hands, and that was it.
Yeah. Another drill I think that is really bad is the windmill drill. I think that can also be for backstroke too, technically.
Yeah, like or freestyle. Freestyle, I only do those like windmill arms for a sprint, like 50, 100, that's it. When I do anything past that, then I do like higher elbows, like a subtle arch.
Yeah, that's what I think that is what destroyed my shoulders because I only did that style for a year because it was forced upon us, and if we didn't do it, we would get in trouble. So after that year, that's when my shoulder injuries really started showing.
The coaches don't fuck around.
Yeah, it was my coach. My coach would sit there and make sure that we're doing it. One time he literally, I don't remember why he was mad at this girl. I don't know if it was the same issue, but he literally grabbed her by her arm and pulled her out of the water while
That's
she was
crazy.
swimming. Yeah. So it's like some coaches should not be coaches. Like children are so,
Vulnerable.
yeah, like they don't know better, you know?
Yeah, I
So,
just think it's a example of bad leadership. Like you clearly just don't know how to explain it in a different
yeah.
way. Because if someone isn't understanding, then you say the same thing in other words. Cool. It's not that hard.
Yeah,
Like
instead of
you're just a bad leader. Like it's the same thing when I look at companies, right? With the
yeah,
workforce that just comes and goes. Like you clearly don't know how to train people, manage people, lead people. And and when they do a shit job, you don't tell them how to do a better job or
yeah.
figure out what's stopping that job from being done well. So it's just people who try to be leaders but don't know how to be leaders, and unfortunately, we get caught in the crossfire of it.
Yep, I think it happens more than I would like to admit.
Okay, how much do you think overtraining versus bad technique plays into shoulder pain?
I think that in general, if you are overtraining, you are going to have many issues. And if you are super tired, you're probably automatically going to have bad technique in a way that you're just not able to produce as much energy and thought into what you're doing because you have worked the body to the max and it can't function properly as it should. And I think that you will have a lot of pain with overtraining and it will correlate to the bad technique, which will then also lead into the shoulder pain. Have you ever had a coach notice your shoulder mechanics or scapular movement and try to fix it?
Definitely not. See, I feel like I had a lot of my strokes mastered by the age of 10 because I went to every championship meet. You know, state champs was there. The oldest I could be, I think it's 9 and 10 is when they start. So it's like from 9 to 14, I was in those meets. And every time we changed some teams, it was kind of just like, oh, here's a great swimmer with great technique, with great form. Like they didn't really do much for me besides tell me to swim, give me sets, tell me to do yardage. Like if anyone managed my technique, it was more so my dad, and a parent is only going to be able to do so much research. He did a lot of research for us. Like we still were great swimmers, but there was still a lot of oversight because at the end of the day, like he's not a personal trainer. He's not, you know, someone who's educated on the human body as much as a coach or a trainer would be. And none of them could really see what could be wrong with my freestyle. Like I've never really got lectured on anything besides more so breaststroke and tempo and strokes per wall and underwaters, and you know it wasn't really like them looking at the basics anymore. So no, I didn't really have that guidance that I kind of can give myself really easily since no one else will.
As you said, like coaches didn't really do anything. I feel like I know we will talk about this in future episodes, but coaches will kind of have their favorites and they will really help those kids that they really like versus someone that they don't. So,
I mean, I agree. That's why I definitely try to be the favorite.
yeah,
Like I agree. That's why it's like for me, I view the quote unquote favorite as like you have to be the fastest. So I'm like I gotta try to be the fastest for my age. So they go, hey, she's our best 14-year old, best 12-year old, best
yeah,
15-year old, whatever it is. Don't care.
yeah.
Um, that's kind of like how you stand out. Is if you're good, the coach goes, hey, I'm gonna put more time in you. That's why I always try to remember, like, that sometimes people are only as good as the people who help them get there. Because when
Yeah.
other people keep pouring resources into you, it's even like the confidence trope. Like, when everyone, instills confidence or even tells you you're pretty your whole life, you could grow up and be like, I'm pretty. Great, because, you had that validation around you. But not everyone gets that. And not everyone gets that limelight from their coach, or the affirmations that they need to succeed sometimes. So it's kind of like not everyone's really playing the same game or having the same path. A child can be born in this country or this country, and when one child can have poverty and another child can have wealth and resources, and what child do you think is stereotypically going to most likely do better? The kid with wealth, because they're going to have access to education, access to healthcare, access to things that they need to literally be the best version of themselves. So it's not even that that kid is inherently more valuable than that other kid. It's just that they have parents that can fund their dreams, fund their homes, fund their school, like fund what they need to succeed. So that's what bugs me, is because obviously I know there's a level of hard work that I put in that maybe other people haven't. But I know that there's other people that if they were given those resources or that type of training, they could have easily been as good as me or better. Like that's where I kind of like humble myself, where it's about resources and luck and privilege and a whole bunch of other things sometimes than just talent and hard work. What's your go-to move or stretch when your shoulders start acting up?
I think it's more so that I like to ice my shoulder. I did that a lot when I was swimming. I feel like it just helps numb it a little bit, and there are certain creams and lotions and whatever that I would put on it to kind of help numb it a little bit, like icy hot or whatever. And stretch wise, it's more stretching my pecs because that's where my shoulders kind of come forward, just because my pecs are so tight. Do you believe in ice baths, or are you more of a rest and massage type?
See, I don't really ice bath, but what some swimmers tend to do, like me, is you just like swimming, so you have a tendency to swim more in like natural habitats. So I've swam in like ice cold water before, like an ocean or a lake or whatever. And I think it's healthy for your immune system. And I think it's good to do at times, but I'm definitely more of like hot tub and massage type person. Like I don't think I feel such a huge grand difference. Like I think if it really matters so much, then just take an ice cold fucking shower every time, you're done working out. Cause I'm not one to just like, let me prep a bathtub with a bunch of ice. I don't see the benefits like so high that it's worth doing. I'd rather like have a hot tub or a massage. And honestly, massages done right, really, really good. Because I've been swimming more often, and I just went last week, and my calves were killing me, dude. I've never had a massage hurt my calves so much, but I mean, I've been kicking a whole lot more. So yeah, I think I felt a whole lot more relief from like a deeper tissue based massage or like cupping or like leg compression sleeves or a sauna. I'd rather do those elements where I actually can feel more relief than the ice. I do think it's good to do both, like ice and hot, but if I had to pick one or the other, I'm gonna pick the heat. I get more blood flow, especially if I do it after a workout where I already have increased blood flow. Then I just relax that area and then I'll ice after if I want to ice. I had to go through physical therapy or do dry land specifically for injury rehab.
I definitely went through physical therapy. I'm pretty sure I went to physical therapy for a whole year to work on my shoulder, and at the end of it, it actually really did help my shoulder. The pain was barely there. I had the range of motion and strength in the shoulder back, but obviously, if you don't keep up with those exercises, then it really goes downhill, and there's no point of going to physical therapy if you're not going to keep up with the exercises.
For sure. I do. physical therapy is like a prerequisite for some people before just regular personal training. Like,
Yes.
either way, you're gonna have to fix this and get stronger and get to training. And again, about training, what people don't realize is that increasing your like muscle mass and bone density is not only important for um getting through an injury, but for like preventing an injury.
Yeah.
Like
Mm,
you can withstand an injury better than someone who has less muscle and less bone density. I mean, it's kind of common sense. Like you can watch a cartoon and think, "Oh, this little bunny is trying to punch this giant jacked bear." Okay, like where do you think the how is the bear gonna take damage? You know what I mean? Like it's just common sense. It's bigger, there's more mass, there's more muscle, thicker bones. It's a bigger creature. So just imagine you versus the version of yourself that is a lot more jacked. Pretty sure that person, that version of you, is gonna be able to fucking withstand a whole lot more. Maybe a fall to the floor or something simple. Because you don't want to be old. Like when women get old and they fall down and they break a hip, they've just increased the rate of death by like 50% plus. Just by that, especially if they're in their 70s. Don't make me bring the stats out for that one. It's not a pretty statistic.
it's not good. And the reason why older adults fall is because they are weak and the lower body is not able to sustain their upper body and their balance and coordination is off. So it's really sad that we have the resources. You can do so many exercises at home, but it's mental and you also have to be dedicated to the process. But with a few simple exercises, you can have a beautiful future. What exercises or mobility work have helped you the most long term?
Breaststroke already gives me the mobility, like in my adductors and whatnot, my hips. So using a slant board, foot in the middle of the slant board, holding weight for load, getting down into a split squat, okay? Working individual legs is so important, bro. Everyone goes to the gym and hits their squats, and sure, that's a great compound. Still not even like the best exercise for building the glutes, if that's what you want specifically, but that's what girls think. I want a bigger ass, I got to squat. Wrong. You're still hitting your quads. Go do a glute bridge and come back to me next time. Or RDL. Or a good morning. Or a hinge based movement. Or an abduction based movement. But regardless, um split squats, working individual legs, reverse lunges, curtsy lunges, but especially split squats. Split squats, split squats with a pause. Split squats. I'm pausing. Notice how I'm pausing. I need you to pause, okay? Same thing with squats. I need people to hold a load, to get down, and be able to withstand that load for about 3 to 5 seconds. Push for 7, because then your squats are going to be a whole lot stronger, and not just your main not just your main muscle groups are going to be worked, but your hips are going to be a whole lot stronger for holding that load in a deep position. So if you have hip pain because your hips aren't strong, you need to be doing split squats, and individual leg work.
And
Yeah.
I think even for the upper body, I think you need to do individual sides because you're going to compensate if you already have a tendency for compensation. You are going to use one side more than the other during an exercise if you're using, let's say, both your legs, both your arms. So it's really important to still get the single stuff for legs and upper body.
I mean, yeah, I think swimmers, like when you use a full body experience as a sport, you need to make sure your arms are even, your shoulders are even, your legs are even. Like we can't have an imbalance on one side or the other. Naturally, we might have an imbalance because, some people breathe on one side forever. They don't even turn to the other side. So like sometimes some strokes, there's a little bit of compensation on our dominant side. It's our job to even out our swimming portfolio and our muscle portfolio to make sure we're strong and even in the water. Otherwise, we're just also not going to be as fast. Is there a part of your body that still feels permanently different because of swimming?
I think there are many parts of my body that feel permanently different because of swimming. I think mentally, it'll, you know, that'll stay with me forever. All the injuries that I have, unless I work on them pretty much every single day, I think it's gonna be part of my body and it's gonna be something that is gonna take years and years to fix and make sure it stays fixed. Do you think swimmers are taught to push through pain too much?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this question because I think absolutely we are forced through so much pain. Um, Not even just mental pain. In some ways, it's good. The first thing that's good, we'll start with the pros, is that unlike most people, I know what it's like to actually put in 110% of my body's exertion. Some people don't even know what 100% feels like because a lot of people are babies at the end of the day. They just don't push themselves. So I appreciate swimming for teaching me that, but swimming has also pushed the line of pain so far that it becomes hard, not the negative, becomes hard to identify and validate your reality with a potential injury. Because you could constantly be like, it's not that big of a deal. It's whatever. But I'm strong. Like, you could constantly shrug it off or be like, I'm just being weak or I actually need to train harder, like, instead of inversely taking rest. So it's a double edged sword, but I think it hurts more than it helps. How do you mentally handle being injured and not being able to train?
I think when I did have to go through that phase, I was in a way kind of excited to stop, but because I would be able to hang out with my friends and such after school and more time to myself. But then walking past the pool, smelling the chlorine, and not being able to move my body. I don't know about you, but being in the water, like that just feels at peace. Like that is where I feel my best at. So I think that was the tough part to be able to push through, but it also pushed me to keep doing my exercises and keep going through PT so I can get back in the water.
Yeah, I definitely think that swimmers need more breaks to appreciate the sport, to take rest, to prevent overusage injuries. Um, I think we forget how awesome the human body is and how awesome muscle connection is because even when I took a solid year off the sport, I still swam and my technique was the same. Like, granted, my endurance was a bit shot, but like, I could still swim the same way. And naturally, things get rusty over time. So I think it's good to like do here and there because you can maintain that muscle connection and form. But it goes to show that it's something our body will remember forever.
With swimming, it takes a couple days to get back into feeling like okay with the endurance wise, but all in all, the technique is still going to be there. I'm still able to swim pretty fast if I need to, and if I really wanted to get back into it, I'm sure it would only take a couple weeks.
Which is why I think focusing on technique is going to be the most important thing for swimmers. Because clearly your body's going to remember it forever. So let's not remember bad form.
Do you ever get nostalgic about swimming even though your body still feels it?
For sure, I try to swim, at least one time a week, like on my own, but I'm already in the water a lot. Like I like what I do. I would say most swim instructors like what they do. It's like a highly satisfied job position usually. Like, people are pretty satisfied with the work they do. I like being able to help kids and change people's lives, and at the same time I can be in the water, but it's like I'm in the water in a different way. I'm not in the water as a competitive swimmer, but I'm still moving around and getting cardio and, being in the water with carrying bodies and stuff. So that's a different type of workout in itself. So I like to just be in the water. I don't have to swim formally, but being outside, being in the water helps me mentally. If you could go back, what would you do differently to protect your body earlier on?
I think this is a tough question because as a kid, you don't really understand what's going on.
Yeah, right? Like in
But
our instance, we started so young, so it's like there's not much
yeah,
we could do
yeah, it would be a
besides
completely
what
different
we were
story.
told.
Yeah, if it was now and with the knowledge that I have now, but make sure that if there is an injury to go and fix it because I want to enjoy the sport. I want to make friends. I want to have good coaches. I don't I think a mistake I made was staying with a team where my coach was horrendous and coaches that didn't care about me and didn't even know my name even though I was there for 10 years. Like that to me is okay, 10 years is an exaggeration, but still, I think it's crazy that I don't know. I think coaches make a really, really big influence, and I know a couple of people that hate swimming now, and it's multiple people and people that had the same coach and I wasn't even friends with that hate the sport now because of their coach.
See, I feel
So,
like we got to give those people a voice to be haters a little bit because I think their anger is justified, usually. A lot of people's anger is usually justified. I mean, by their own means, but I think those means and reasons are worth listening to because hate is a strong word, and most of these people used to love the sport. So I want to know more about the haters from the swim world that are like, fuck this sport, it ruined my life, it burnt me out, this, that, and the other. You're not offending me, right? Like I want to hear more from the people that despise it because I think there's a lot of healing that could be done to prevent other people from hating it, right? Like I think it's like gymnastics in the sense of where people get kind of just abused too much, especially I have, some horror stories with some coaches and what coaches did to other people. Some of it is not as much like my story to share, but there are definitely people out there that have similar stories.
what's one thing swimming taught you about recovery, discipline, or listening to your body?
Because of my muscle connection in the water, like the type of muscle connection you have to be really connected as a swimmer does help me pinpoint what feels off. So I feel like I'm more likely to feel what feels off faster than a normal gym goer or a different type of athlete. Your body also feels different in the water than it does on land. So I can also see what feels differently on land and see what feels differently in the pool. So also if I can pinpoint what's, wrong and if it's not working on land in terms of certain resistance approaches, then the pool is a great place for most people to start for rehab. So if you need to tone down the yardage but work on better techniques that don't cause you pain, because for example, in my breaststroke kick, if I keep my legs and my knees a little bit closer together to keep my glutes more engaged and then bring the feet around, that's going to feel a lot better for me than extending my knees as far out to the side and, moving through the adductors. And if we think about that, I don't want to use my adductors more than my glutes because my
Yeah,
glutes are stronger than my adductors. So
exactly.
I'd want to be utilizing my glutes more. So getting in position to utilize that muscle rather than overextending the knees and kind of causing trouble there. So reeling back, being like, how can I just do a few hundred yards, really feeling the stroke, feeling what hurts and feeling what doesn't hurt. And you can pinpoint it in the water, but if it needs more like you need more strength being built, then you know what movement patterns, at least in the water, work or hurt and how to incorporate that outside of the pool.